Hello, everyone. Welcome to SparrowCast. And we have Mickey Alon with us today. He's the CTO and founder of Gainsight PX. He can be described as a serial entrepreneur, passionate about designing, building, and launching innovative products that drive business outcomes. He's a co-author of Mastering Product Experience in SaaS. He was a GVP previously at Marketo, leading a global engineering team. And he is here with us today to share his insights on how can customer success, marketing, and product partners create a growth engine. Welcome to the show, Mickey. We are so happy that you agreed to be a part of this. I'm super excited.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
All right. So without any further ado, let's begin our session. Over to you, Mickey.
So in the session today, we wanted to talk about how can customer success, marketing, and product can really partner to create a growth engine and how it ties to today's COVID-19 and the things we're seeing in the market. So first, let's describe what is product-led growth. In essence, it's a powerful strategy that relies on product usage as primary vehicle to customer acquisition, retention, and expansion that we all care about so much in these days. And it really introduces a powerful strategy that can disrupt a business model or the traditional marketing-led business model. So to start with, I want to first touch on why the economic volatility is becoming a catalyst to product-led growth strategy. So today in unpredictable world, the sustainability and profitability is becoming very, very important. In the past, and I've built a couple of different companies and I've been part of public companies. In the past, you're able to get funding as long as you can prove you can grow. So growth at all costs was very, very common. We've seen major investments of multi-billion-dollar investments into companies that shown growth, but were not efficient. And today's world, where the efficiency metrics, basically the margin and the cost of your growth is taken into consideration and going to affect the valuation of the company. So you can see here how the revenue multiple is affected by the revenue growth and the margin growth every year. So that's something that we should definitely take a look on. And there are ways to optimize the cost of growth, the cost of customer acquisition, and those major metrics in SaaS. So we've gathered a recent survey about the top SaaS priorities at C-level. We do see that there's a flip between driving new logo sales, which is growth, towards preventing churn. There's definitely a strong prioritization to say, hey, and it's very natural when the uncertainty happens, you're trying to, first of all, to sustain and to make sure that you're taking care of the basics of your business and of your families and friends. We can also see in the middle, very interesting trend that increasing product adoption, understanding product usage is quite high. So it becomes that the product is taking center stage towards those two, I think, edges that we're seeing here. And we're gonna try to explain why do we see this phenomenon. So if I look at the traditional marketing playbook and which is describing the B2B customer journey that we see today, number one thing we can see is really the marketing playbook says that the buying intent is based on the digital body language that you're presenting on the top of funnel. So it might be a landing page or a white paper download, which is great indication to understand what you're interested in, but not necessarily a strong indication of your buying intent. What happens is you can also see that the customer acquisition cost is increasing all the time. We are in the renaissance of startups. So many new startups are growing exponentially, and that increases competition. So customer acquisition cost is going up, and again, it's going to influence the way your company can grow. And then it takes your customers, if you look at the discrete handoff that they go through, and eventually they're trying to understand and experience value with your offering, with your product, it takes them a lot of time to get there. They go through the different organization and deliverables like the marketing content, then they'll meet the sales team, and then I would say they might do a POC or a trial, it takes them weeks to really realize value. And they do feel that, the discrete handoff between those different teams. And that is basically leading to a very long sales cycle, and which is also affecting the sustainability of our business. So if you look at customer acquisition, and if we think about also revenue and realizing revenue, we want to optimize that. And we also look at the customer experience aspect. I'm not sure that's the ultimate customer experience at the moment. So product-led growth is also a new customer journey that is led by your product as well. So in this scenario, we see cross teams. We see the marketing team, for example, driving signups, speaking about the features and differentiation, speaking about pain points that the product can solve to drive those signups. And their goal is to make sure that you're realizing value very quickly by leading with the product. And another thing we see is the product team is taking part of that early customer acquisition effort. So it means that they're going to prioritize towards usability, time to value, and making sure that the first experience is the best they can deliver, because also the buyer wants to understand what's the cost of acquisition, what's the total cost of ownership to actually buy your product. And in this scenario, we also have another data for understanding the buyer intent. We have, for example, the concept of PQL, the product qualified leads, as opposed to MQL, the marketing qualified leads. And this new concept is tied to the leads we're seeing, but the lead is becoming a trial user. And we also want to look at what type of pain point led to their sign up. It might be a paid media, it might be a white paper, but now we also want to monitor their intent inside the product. What are they trying to achieve? What are the use cases that are trying to build with the product they're in during the trial? So the product qualified leads give you a stronger intent to, you just can see how frequently they use the product. You can definitely understand quickly this is an active POC, a decision is about to be made, and you can act on that. So this is why PQLs are becoming a very valuable metric to measure in a PLG strategy. And also, if we look about, again, the customer acquisition cost, we are making this journey much faster, much more scalable. We are not taking the customer through a lot of nurturing just on top of funnel. We try to accelerate them, realizing value inside the product, and the messaging to them will be pain and solution driven before and during the POC. The other element which is important is really reducing the onboarding expenses, because usually, again, in the marketing-led world, there's a lot of onboarding cost associated and very kind of heavy lifting. In this scenario, we're letting the product do the heavy lifting with in-product messaging, with guided tours, with knowledge bases. We're trying to have the customer on board almost as a self-serve model, if we can, and just minimizing that cost. And we are also trying to accelerate the sales cycle to reduce the sales cycle to be minimum, because at the point that the trial ends, we are trying to push for a decision. So as we said before, like in the edge of the customer, much of the customer experience happens within the product. You should look at the product as a conduit to your users. It's the value that they experience. It's actually the way they perceive your brand as well. You can no longer just rely on brand awareness. You need to deliver the product experience expected, and that will also go back to your brand recognition as a high value and high quality services versus poor value. So why product experience matters is really aligning also the business model with the customer expectation. Even an enterprise buyer expect to try and evaluate the solution before they try, because they know that they have a very specific set of goals to achieve, and they have they have a specific requirements they need to comply with. So they actually want to make sure that what they selected is going to deliver the value that they're expecting for. And also, we've seen another phenomenon that the buyers prefer to self-educate and be self-sufficient when they do try your product. It is an indication for them how easy it is and what's the total cost of ownership that should be with your product. So eventually a good trial experience leads to a brand trust and a faster decision. Because if I'm able to drive the car, so to speak, I'm able to evaluate the experience, I can take a safer decision versus just seeing videos and seeing someone from your company just demoing the product. And then also time to value is important. So a better product experience should be focused on accelerating time to value and increasing the ROI for customers. And then if you think about scale, and we've seen the slide before, that is, you saw companies that they need to hire more and more sales and customer success and support just to support growth. We are trying to optimize that. Product-led growth and product experience are trying to say, hey, you should have better ratio between a customer success or product marketing towards the number of customers you have. You want to optimize it with technology, and especially during the adoption and onboarding stages. And if you look at cross-functional elements, so first, it's a cultural change when we try to absorb or adopt product-led growth. And it's really about endorsing customer value. And in Gainsight, we definitely want to put the customer in the center of everything. So if you look at the product teams, building the experience and time to value, and it's all about really delivering that through the product. And customer success teams want to help the customer achieve their outcome and be more strategic, and not necessarily onboard them or be a support person. And sales want to see how can they differentiate and position your product and understand the customer experience and learn about the customer needs from the usage and from speaking with your customers, and then being able to upsell or cross-sell the right solution. And marketing teams also needs to learn about the differentiation to be able to stand out and drive those sign-up and growth to the product. So if you look at just the different teams and different goals and how can they collaborate better, so the product team can really participate and build this go-to-market motion when it means that you want to lead or assist with your product, and you want to make sure that if you offer trials and POCs, that experience is seamless, scalable, and accelerates time to value, which will lead to the benefits of customer acquisition cost and other elements. So they do need to prioritize roadmap for growth. It means that looking at the first mile of product, understanding how customers using the product to be able to deliver better roadmap to them, and also look at the metrics like the basic metrics like daily active users and customer lifetime value, but also valuable metrics as key features and value being tracked and using data to drive their decision. On the marketing side is really driving signups and really nurture with relevant content based on the use cases that the prospect is trying to achieve. And as an example, many B2B platforms have different personas and different use cases they're solving. So marketing needs to tune to that, tie the pain point to the persona, to experience, and help nurturing with the right webinars and content. And sales can really look at the PQL element of the trial. When they do see the type of customers and the way they use the product, that can be way more efficient and build that relationship and trust with the customer and help them achieve the goal and understand their strategy. And this is where customer success comes in. They want to design an outcome-driven process, basically being more strategic. Also in Gainsight, as a customer success or customer cloud type of company, we are trying to build a long-term strategic workflow or process to help you really be successful and achieve the outcome with the product you just bought. And obviously, customer success will lean towards churn prevention and renewals. And we all know that the best cure for churn is actually adoption. So I'm going to go through 5 steps to creating a product-led growth strategy to help you get started. Even if you're a B2B platform, this is something that's very, very doable. And we said that the first thing is really to put the data at the center of the organization to help move the business forward. So if you look at the data, number one thing is really to define your North Star metric, which is representing the value that your product is delivering to your customers and the shareholders. And B2B, it's not a trivial task to set the North Star metric. Eventually, you want to capture the value, the outcome the product delivers. It needs to be tied to the product vision and long-term strategy. What are you trying to be the best at? In B2C, it might be easier to define. In B2B, you have different elements to consider, but you want to make sure that you're positioning towards a long-term strategy as well. And then you also want to make sure that, again, using data, you can see leading indicator and lagging indicator for adoption and revenue and growth. So if I look at the pyramid, there's basic metrics you want to always look at. That is the basic sentiment, the NPS and CES, or core features being used, and the daily and monthly active users, but also measuring the new features you just built, the new users coming into your product, and obviously keeping your eye on the revenue. We spoke about sustainability. This is very, very important to be able to make sure that you're building the right feature to the right audience and the revenue is actually aligned. Number two is creating frictionless user onboarding using tech touch or balancing between high touch and self-service. So one of the tips is really first capturing the user profile of your ideal customer profile. So you want to understand who they are. It might be the role, admin, designer, a marketing person, because that is going to be an indicator and help you understand how they use the product, as opposed to not knowing who the role is or what the user is trying to achieve. Also, looking at the stage, if you look at the data in onboarding, they're going to try to achieve quick wins as opposed to build something strategic. So if you have that as part of your data, when you analyze the usage, that's something very, very important. And also entitlement, what type of features a package they actually bought, that also gonna lead the way you're gonna take decision and optimize their journey. And also understand their objectives. What are they trying to achieve right now in the trial? If you're trying to really help growth and you wanna optimize the POCs, mapping the persona to the outcome and entitlement and really making sure that journey is smooth and easy, that's going to drive a lot of success. When you do build the product, you want to have the self-serve mindset. It means that starting from provisioning, you just allow people to sign up. For some B2B, this is not trivial. They're afraid to open the gate. I think that if you have that mindset, you're building the product to self-provision and start tracking what they do, is something that is going to help you really mature into a better experience in the product. You don't have to build it from day one. I've seen customers that just have this trial form, the trial starts, and then even manually they provision, or they might ask you for some discovery question before they provision. But having that door and then making that easier to go in is very, very important. And then you can start driving signups to experience value. Eventually, if I sign up and I'm able to understand what your product is doing through the feature, through the data, or through in-app experience, it might be even the video inside, that's the outcome you're trying to achieve. You've earned the first point. You're saying, oh, the customer now understands what they can achieve with my product, even before they implement the entire platform or the solution you're offering. Also, you want to focus on accelerating time to value. You want to accelerate the first point of the aha moment, the first point of value for customers, so they understand what you can deliver. They have if you're gonna allow a better experience and they're able to see how they can reach that value, that's gonna accelerate the sales cycle and gonna also build a trust with your brand. So again, sometimes in roadmap prioritization, you want to focus on the time to value. It might be a young startup. It also might be a very mature company. That time to value is critical. Why? Because we also realize that customer will evaluate sometimes based on that. They have 30 days to take a decision, or sometimes just a week to take a decision, and they need to choose from 5 different vendors. So time to value will give you a very strong positioning. And I've built a couple of solutions before, and the time to value was the #1 focus, because I knew that I need to show as quickly as possible why they should choose my solution and why is it better. So measuring that is very, very important. and prioritizing usability feature for that is very important as well. We have different tactics to nurture you when you start evaluating features, or even throughout the customer lifecycle. There's a lot of releases, we are building a lot of features, but eventually we're not always looking that these features are being adopted. So feature activation is one tactic to say, hey, you've been using feature A, it's actually the right time to use feature B. You can also learn from the data, where do they drop off and what should I offer as next best feature. And again, if we think about it, if you map the persona to the journey that you expect them to take, the value journey, the feature activation is those subtle in-app guidance you can offer for them to understand and use the next best feature. And we're seeing, many companies do that, like Google, like Adobe and others, basically nurturing you and making sure you get they raise the awareness of these features and increase the discoverability of these golden features. And also you want to collect the customer effort score. Again, once you release a new feature, understand how that user is actually feeling about that feature and what's the usability ratio for that. Just to give you some examples, like we know that for feature activation, to drive the aha moment as you sign up, so in Asana, it might be the initial value might mean just creating a new project and task. In Zoom, obviously, is doing the first video conferencing or even webinar or Expensify and so forth. So having that messaging and really guiding that using technology is something you can do. Then you can gain scale with regards to time to value from your customers. They will find more intuitive, and you don't need to just apply a lot of support and success just to get them to the initial value. We also advise to really build a checklist or more strategic steps that they want to take as part of their onboarding. Customers are more receptive to what you as a vendor recommend for me to actually take, and how can I orient myself and serve myself with a personalized assistant, which can be even in-app guides I can trigger, or I can search up your knowledge base. There's many data points that can help me achieve my goal right now, because in B2B, we are always busy. We want to make sure that we are learning quickly and self-sufficient. So having that assistance with regards to knowledge bases, with regards to in-app guidance, is really helpful to drive that time to value forward. So number 3 is really focusing on product adoption. As we said, it's understanding, obviously, you want to first reach product market fit. If you're a young company, you want to learn about how the product can deliver value, retain, and differentiate and grow. So this is a very important data analytics to look at. Retention analysis, it means that from signups, how many are coming back? How sticky is my product? I should see that the line from sign up and returning should be flat over time. And in B2B, it should be above 35% returning, which is a good indicator of usage and stickiness of my product. I can also learn about other elements, but the number one thing is my product reach product market fit? Are customers frequently using it? And what's my window of opportunity that I need to engage? If I had a 100% sign up, how fast should I react or respond to these customers to deliver value? Moving forward is really tracking when you map the value and the journey that your customer need to be taking. For example, again, per persona, you have the outcome and value they need to achieve within the first adoption phase or during onboarding. So you want to identify friction points at the customer journey, and mapping your customer flow is really important, and understanding the feature usage flow and where do they actually drop off. So you can visually see that. You can actually understand how a user using your product, whether it's the first sign up and experience, or maybe you just launch a new feature. You want to learn how customers using it, and are they confused, and then whether they go after they use the feature. And eventually the key use cases is really from onboarding to aha moment of the product, supporting your product launch or feature releases, and in many cases UX, usability analysis, when they want to really focus on time to value as well. So very, very important path analysis to learn. Also, when you build those features, it's really important to create the release experience. It's not just enough to collect those requirements and deliver and just build more features. You want to make sure that customers are aware. And one way is just to send emails to them, but we understand that the response rate and open rate are pretty low. But the best way is really as they are in your product. You want to raise their awareness. Here's the new release. Here's why you should look at it by value. And here's what's coming. And also then apply tactics to like feature activation. So in the moment, you're going to show them the relevant elements. And we need to understand that in B2B, it's not just I'm showing you a feature, you're going to use it right now. I need to nurture you towards the goal. So it's very important to start understanding the mindset of your customer, which is they need to learn about the product. There's a learning curve for them, and you need to nurture them through that messaging to help them achieve the objective they are trying to achieve. And then you'll be able to monetize on your product investment because you're building those features for a reason. Number 4 is really enable the closed loop feedback. I would say this is a very, very important data point. As we said before, putting the data at the center of the organization to really help drive business. One of the very major data point is the customer feedback. So I think being a customer obsessed is important. And as an entrepreneur and all the product leaders, I believe the number 1 satisfaction we get is really to get the right feedback and that we've built the right thing. And always when you're building new features, there's an art and science. Once the feature matures, it becomes more and more data play. But for new features, you want to learn faster. And you need to learn also, another tip is really the speed of learning is very, very important. So how can you make sure that what you're building, the new feature you just built, is going to be successful? And how can you, and I've been part of Marketo. We had 6,000 customers, a lot of users using Marketo even today. How can I make sure that I'm delivering the right feature at the right time and then scale it without changing and so forth? So we've built a mechanism to really first test out with experiment group and get the feedback. I think the feedback is really helping you understand the why behind the what, because customers as humans will give you that feedback. And there's many ways to collect feedback, again, if it's a new feature or your core features. On the right side, you can see Atlassian, for example. If you go and just use issues in Jira, they want to understand this core feature. What do you feel about that? What's your score? And can you tell us why? So it's a very effective CES type of campaign to start understanding how you feel about this specific feature. And you want to measure critical features that you've built for your customer. And again, the biggest advice is map the persona to their journey and then ask them along the way about core features then you expect them to adopt. And then there's other types of feedback which are more global, for example, like NPS and CSAT, that is, and different algorithms to kind of give you the sentiment for these customers. And NPS, I would say, is more customer company level satisfaction. The services, the product, all together, they'll give you a score, and you'll be able to distinguish between detractors, passive, and promoters, and really see where you are at the higher level score. So number 5 is really focusing on customer outcome, and I'm going to finish with this. Is basically we are used to delivering more features, and every time we're coming to whether it's a board meeting or the monthly meeting, is like how many features did you deliver? And I think we should to switch the mindset towards outcome driven than feature centric. It's not the number of features we delivered, it's actually the value it helps drive. Obviously, we know that more features, too many features, going to end up in complexity. So be very diligent about what is the journey that I'm trying to achieve, what is the persona I'm optimizing for. Let me always put the investment bucket to make sure that usability for that outcome is helping, and collecting that feedback and measuring the data will help you a lot in that achieving that goal. So to finish up, I would say that the biggest strategic advice would be really putting the customer at the center. I think it aligns with product-led growth. Customers want to trust your brand by trying your product. They do appreciate fast time to value. They do appreciate usability. So putting the customer at the center, providing a consumer-grade experience to what they're trying to achieve is going to help you, and also focusing on the stage of the customer. During onboarding, I'm not an expert with your product. Do not message me new releases and new features. In onboarding, I'm trying to achieve the basic goals. In adoption, it's all the play is really to take me from point A to point B to point C and towards a strategic outcome. Try to avoid just measuring MAU as just basic features. You want to measure value that I'm getting from your product. So number of logins can be great, but if I'm using like low value features, they're not gonna sustain me. And adoption is the cue for retention and growth. So mapping each stage goals, type of metrics, and also collaborating with the team, if it's from product marketing to product management, customer success, and sales, gonna create that strategy around it. What are the KPIs we're trying to achieve? How do we measure the health of the customer and the product? And how do we prioritize our roadmap to drive that outcome in a more consistent way? That is for now, and I'm happy to take some questions.
That was truly an amazing session, Mickey. I had a lot of questions in between, but pretty much your presentation has covered most part of it. So I'm sure that our audience also too appreciates the insights and thoughts you just shared with us. So let me just quickly summarize the key takeaways from this session today. So first one would be prioritizing the requests from different teams and going with North Star. Second one would be focus on customer outcome. Third one would be enable closed-looped feedback. Fourth one would be focus on product adoption. And the fifth one would be create frictionless onboarding. And Mickey, and once again, thanks for your time and for sharing your thoughts on this topic. And we shall see you again in the next SparrowCast. Thank you.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for having me.